All right, guys, for today, we're going to kind of go back to the beginning of the notes. So if you have them flipped to where we kind of did just a little bit on Friday, go ahead and flip back to the beginning. We are starting actual factoring. And I just finished grading your test this morning during the 2 hours that we had this morning. And there were 5 failures. And some people I'm very thoroughly worried about that this is the right class for you, but it's too late to go anywhere else, so now you're stuck with me the rest of the semester. So they are in the grade book, so if you've not looked, you can look later. They are in there. We'll go over them probably maybe tomorrow. We should have time to go over those together. But for today, guys, we are starting factoring. If you cannot factor, you will fail this class. I don't say it to scare you, but at the same time, like, we use factoring like every single day. Like, it goes from one chapter to the next chapter to the next, like, it just keeps showing up. Okay, so at any point, if you're like, I have no idea what she's doing, please let me know so that you can come see me during Success the next day. Don't wait a week before you come see me for help, okay? Because then it's too late. Okay, so just make sure you come see me, ask me for help. I'm not going to make you feel bad if you come ask me. I'd rather you ask. Okay, and I will tell you that there are certain students in here that asked me a lot of questions before the test that we took on Friday. Like, they asked me for help like constantly. Guess how they did on the test? They did really well because they constantly asked me for help. All right, there's 2 of you in here that come to mind right off the bat that you asked me a lot of questions and you did great. So please ask, okay? All right. You were not one of the ones that asked me a lot of questions. Okay, so for today, this set of notes again is going to be kind of broken down to like a couple days worth. So we are factoring a quadratic with 3 terms. But before we get into factoring, let's kind of refresh some skills that we've seen in the past. So if I gave you that and I asked you to multiply that, right? We did this in the last chapter. All right, so we would distribute. What's x times x? X times negative 3. 4 times x, and 4 times negative 3, negative 12. There was a lot of sign issues on the test, so make sure you're really careful with your signs. All right, we have like terms in the middle, so we have x squared. That gives me a positive 1x, and then minus 12. So what factoring is the opposite. I will give you this, and you have to turn this back into that. Okay, that's factoring. It's just working this backwards. Now, I have 3 examples on here, not because I think you're dumb and don't know how to do this, but I want you to see something, okay? So real quick, we'll go through the other 2 on here. So it's going to give us x squared minus 7x, bless you, minus 2x plus 14. Like terms, we'll get x squared minus 9x plus 14. And then the last one, maybe, there we go. So we'll distribute and get x squared plus 6x plus 5x plus 30. Like terms, x squared plus 11x plus 30. All right, so the reason I had you do those 3 is I want you to notice something. Look at the signs. So in the first one, they had opposite signs in them. That one had both negatives. This one had both positives. Okay, because your signs, that's the biggest issue students have with these. Now I want you to look at what we got when we actually multiplied them together. The last term is the sign that makes all the difference in the world to you. Okay, think about, how do you multiply to get a negative number at the end? A positive and a negative. Look at your signs. How do you multiply to get a positive? Right, either they're both plus or they're both minus. They were both minus up there. This one, multiply to get a positive, either both plus or both minus. They were both plus. Okay, so your signs depend upon that very last term, always. All right, and that's kind of what this next part talks about. If your last one is positive, then we know that they're either both plus or both minus. And then this one will tell you if they're both plus or if they're both minus. Okay? Same thing down here. Last one's positive, means they're either both plus or both minus. That one tells me they're both minus. If your last one's negative, the only way to multiply to get a negative is 1 plus 1 minus. This tells you the sign of the larger number. Sometimes yes, sometimes no. It just kind of depends on kind of what we're looking at. So I don't as much stress that part as, if you know the last one's negative, 1's plus, 1's minus, and we're filling them back in. Okay? All right. We will kind of build upon this flow chart of factoring. We talked about GCF a little bit on Friday. That is always the first thing we look for. We'll kind of bring that into the mix tomorrow. But for today, we're going to kind of skip that step and just look at 3 terms. So when you're looking at factoring, and there's 3 terms, because there are so many different types of factoring, depending on if it has 2 terms, 3 terms, 4 terms, like what it looks like, what the signs are, like there's a lot of different rules. So I'm looking at 3 terms. They're either going to look like this or this. The only difference is having a number in front of the x squared. Makes it a little more challenging, but not terrible. So it could have a number, could not. Here's kind of your step-by-step. First thing, you'll list your factors of A and C. A being the number in front, C is the number at the end. Because if you go back to the examples we first did, how did you get the middle number? You combined your like terms. Right, that's where that came from, like terms. So when we're checking this, I just need to know the factors to multiply for the first one and for the last one. Okay? We're going to first start out by setting up our parentheses. We're going to fill in our signs. If the last one's positive, they're the same, meaning they're either both plus or they're both minus. If the last one's negative, they're opposite, or 1's plus, 1's minus. We're going to plug in our factors. It's kind of a guess and check process until we can figure out, I used the F word, sorry. You're going to distribute that together to see which one works. Sometimes you get going on these and they're super easy. You get it right on your first try. Other times you try and try and try and try, and it takes you a while to get the right one. Okay? Honestly, the more you do this, the faster you get at factoring. Christina, would you say that you got pretty quick at factoring things? Like the more you do it, like you kind of get a feel for the numbers and how they're going to work together. Okay? All right. Whew, now that I've scared you all, right? Let's get started. So first thing we want to do is set up our parentheses. Again, this is factoring. Some students, like I'll ask them to factor and they're like, what does that mean? This is factoring. We will do this every day in this class. All right, we set up our parentheses. Now let's fill in our signs. Our last one is positive. That means they're the same. Are they going to both be plus or both be minus? They're going to both be plus. There's no minuses anywhere in there. That should be your red flag. All right, then we list our factors for A and our factors for C. So factors for A, this is A. What do you multiply to get 2? It's just 1 times 2. It's our only option. We'll list our factors of C. This is your C value. So we're going to go 1 and 12, 2 and 6, 3 and 4. We want a nice, organized, orderly list. Do you see how I went the 1, then 2, then 3? Okay, nice and orderly. Okay, so now we have to guess which numbers go where. So you're going to fill in your A numbers in the first part, and your C numbers go in the last parts. Okay? All right, so on the first one, the only option we have is 1 and 2. So I'm going to go 1x and 2x. It's the only option I got, 1 and 2. I could have went 2x and then 1x. I could have flip-flopped them. It's okay, either way. And then do you guys want to go with 1 and 12, 2 and 6, or 3 and 4? Somebody just throw something out for me. 3 and 4. Okay. So 3 and 4. How do I know if that's right? Yeah, we distribute. Okay, so if I check this, it gives me 2x squared. X times 4 is 4x. 3 times 2x is 6x. 3 times 4 is 12. Put your like terms together, and we get 2x squared plus 10x plus 12. Did it work? No. It's close, right? I got 10x in the middle. It's supposed to be 11x. So that didn't work. So back to the drawing board. Now, here's my advice to you guys, because I see students struggle with this so much. Once you plug numbers in, the order in which you put them makes a difference. Okay, like for example, if I would flip the 3 and the 4, that's going to give me a different answer. Right? If I put the 4 here and the 3 here, I get it something different. My suggestion to you, I don't ever flip my A numbers. Because what would happen right now, I flipped C. What would happen if I flip my A right back? I'm right back to where I started from. Right? If you flip them both, I technically am back to the start. So me personally, I never flip my A. I'll stick them in there. I'll plug C's in. If they don't work, I'll flip the C's. If that still doesn't work, I get rid of those C's and I try something else. If that doesn't work, I flip the C's. If that doesn't work, I get rid of it. Okay? So let's try this one. See if this works. So x times 2x is 2x squared. X times 3 is 3x. 4 times 2x, 8x. And 4 times 3 is 12. Like terms, I get 2x squared plus 11x plus 12. How'd we do? Did you see how it worked? This is exactly what I started with. So what is the factored answer? It is right here. It is x plus 4 times 2x plus 3. So you were trying to figure out what binomials did that come from? What two sets of parentheses were being multiplied that gave you that? How many of you have learned this at one time or another? A couple of you? All right. Let's try the next one. So fun. All right, so we set up our two sets of parentheses. And we're going to talk about our signs. We always look at the last sign. The last one's negative. How do you multiply to get a negative number? A plus and a minus. It's the only way you can multiply to get a negative. All right, options for A. What do you multiply to get a 4? Thank you. 4. Okay, and then options for C. What do you multiply to get a 3? 1 and 3. All right, now this time we have some options for A. Do you want to go 1 and 4 or 2 and 2? 2 and 2? All right, so 2x and 2x. All right, and then here we got a 1 and a 3. Now don't just stick the numbers in there, circle it, and call it good, okay? It drives me crazy when people miss these. Like, you check them, right? Like, you can make sure every answer is right. So let's distribute, and we'll see if it worked. So we get 4x squared minus 6x plus 2x minus 3. Like terms gives me 4x squared minus 4x minus 3. And it worked. We got exactly what we started with. Now, something I see a lot is students get going through this and they check their answer and then they circle this as their answer. Is that your answer? That's your original problem, okay? So make sure you actually mark down what your actual factored answer is. X squared plus 6x plus 8. We are factoring. Two sets of parentheses. Last sign is positive. That means we're either both plus or both minus. What are they going to be? They're both plus. There's no minuses anywhere in there. Options for A. What numbers here? A 1. So 1 and 1. Options for C. About 1 and 8 and 2 and 4. Yeah, C comes together, or sorry, B, the B value, the middle one, that comes together from collecting your like terms, adding them together. So you gotta be careful on that one. All right, so options for A, for 1 and 1, so just 1x and 1x. Then do you want to go 1 and 8 or 2 and 4? 2 and a 4. All right, and then we got check. going to give me x squared plus 4x plus 2x plus 8. Like terms, we get x squared plus 6x plus 8. And it worked. We got exactly what we started with. I love factoring. Factoring's fun to me. It's fun. It's fantastic. It's fabulous. No? You guys alive today? Mm-hmm. Why don't you guys try this one on your own? It's not too bad of a problem. Try this one on your own. All right, guys. So we set up our two sets of parentheses. What were your signs? Last one's positive. Were they both plus or both minus? They're both plus. Options for A should have been just 1 and 1. Options for C, 1 and 20, 2 and 10, 4 and 5. Walking around, a couple of you struggled a little bit, but yet I saw that you didn't write down those factors. Please write them down, okay? It really does help. All right, so options for A is just 1x and 1x. Options for C, was it 1 and 20, 2 and 10, or 4 and 5? 10 and 2? Does it matter if I go 2 and 10 or 10 and 2? Does it matter? Since these are both 1s, it doesn't matter. If you went 10 and 2 or 2 and 10, it doesn't matter, okay? But yeah, if you check that one, it does work. All right, that was definitely a simpler problem. All right, how about that one? Is this going to be an easier one, or is this one going to require a lot of thought? Meh. It should seem fairly simple because what's your A value? It's a 1. So it limits your options. That's what makes it easier. When that A value is a 1, there's not a whole lot of things to worry about. All right, my C value, we have 1 and 60. What should be the next one on my list? Good, 2 and 30. You missed one. 3 and what? 20. There we go. 4 and 15. Missed one. 5 and 12, and then 6 and 10. Holy smokes, look at that list. Whew. Now, the good thing is your A value was just 1 and 1. What makes it hard is when you have a list of things for A and a list of things for C, then you're like, I don't know what combination works. Okay, well, let's talk about signs. My last one is positive. Both plus or both minus? Both plus. No minuses anywhere in there. Options for A is just 1 and 1, so 1x and 1x. You got 6 options. Which one? That'd be 4 and 15. Now stop and think. What's 4 plus 15? Now that works because your A values are just 1 and 1. When you have a different A there, then you can't just look at which ones add together to give you that. But that one does work. All right, let's look at something that's a little bit harder. 2x squared minus 5x minus 25. What are your signs going to be? Good. How did you know there was a positive and a negative? Yeah, if that last one, you always look at that last sign. If the last one's negative, one's plus, one's minus. Doesn't matter if you write minus then the plus, it just depends on where you're going to put your numbers then. Me personally, I always put plus and then minus. So, I don't know, it's just the way I've always done them. All right, options for A. We have 1 and 2. Options for C. You have 1 and 25 or 5 and 5. All right, so options for A is just 1x and 2x. Do you want to go 1 and 25 or 5 and 5? 5 and 5? Sure. And then we'll try, see if it works. So we get 2x squared minus 5x plus 10x minus 25. Okay, put my like terms together. We get 2x squared plus 5x minus 25. Did it work? No. What's the only thing wrong with it, though? Just my sign is wrong. If that middle number is right, but the sign is wrong, what's it mean about my signs up here? They just need to be switched. If I change that to a plus and this one to the minus, it works, right? Because if you check for this when I distribute, that'd make that a plus and that a minus, which then makes that a minus. So that's kind of a nice little trick. If you go all the way through and you're like, the only thing that's wrong is that one sign, just take your plus and minus and flip-flop them. Don't change your numbers, just flip-flop the signs. X squared plus 6x minus 40. Is this going to be an easier one or a little tricky? Easier. Why is it easier? Good, because your a value is 1 and 1. That makes things a little easier for you. My last one is negative. What are my signs? Thank you. Plus and minus. Guys, the sign thing is a huge issue. That's where some students really struggle. If you don't understand how to find the signs, please ask me. When I give you time for homework today, please ask. I'll come over and I'll help you out. All right, options for C. We have 1 and 40. What's next? Good. Then what? And then? There you go. And that's all of them. All right, you got 4 options. Which one is it? 4 and 10? Which one's negative? The 4? If you're not sure, what can we do? We can just check it. Yeah, if we're not sure, it's all right. Multiply it out. So x squared minus 4x plus 10x minus 40. Put your like terms together. That gives me a positive 6x and then minus 40. Is that what you wanted? Yeah, he was right. Okay, so that's the beauty of these. Think about a quiz or a test. Will you know when you turn it in whether you got them all right or not? Yeah, you can check every single problem. I know sometimes in math it's not as easy to really check to make sure it's right. Right, like that last test we took, it was hard to check those. These I can check, make sure every single one of them's right. Oh my, this one's fun. All right, this is one where I can usually start talking to you about a couple tricks to help you out, as long as you don't guess it right on the first try. If you've already worked ahead and know the answer, I'm going to ask you not to say that out loud, okay? Part of me helping to teach you is by guessing wrong sometimes, so I can show you what to do to figure it out. All right, so let's set up our parentheses first. My last one is negative. What are my signs? Plus and a minus. Good. All right, options for A. 36. So we're going to have 1 and 36, 2 and 18, 3 and 12. Good. 4 and 9, 6 and 6. Oh my, that's a lovely list. All right, then look at C is 12. So 1 and 12. Good. And then now this one's harder because look at all those options. All right, again, if you have already figured this out, don't say anything. So somebody else just randomly throw out. Do you want to go 1 and 36, 2 and 18, 3 and 12, 4 and 9, or 6 and 6? Anyone? Dalton, pick one. 4 and 9, he says. All right, so 4x and 9x. Did he have any idea by throwing that guess out there? Probably not, right? You just shot in the dark. All right, so 4 and 9. All right, Chris, give me 1 and 12, 2 and 6, or 3 and 4? 3 and 4. In that order, 3 and 4, or 4 and 3, or 4 and 3. Okay, so 4 and 3. All right, let's work through it. So we threw some numbers in. We're going to see if it works. So if I check this, we get 36x squared minus 12x plus 36x minus 12. Like terms, 36x squared plus 24x minus 12. Did it work? No, it didn't work. All right, so here's my first suggestion to you guys. It did not work, but do not just abandon all of that and go to something else, right? Otherwise, with this many choices, you're going to hit a point you're going to be like, did I check that or did I not check that? And then you don't know what you've done. So again, I never flip-flop my A, but let's flip-flop C. So instead of 4 and 3, let's put it 3 and 4. And let's try that, see if that works. All right, so we check again. We get 36x squared minus 16x plus 27x minus 12. Like terms, we get 36x squared plus 11x minus 12. How'd we do? Flip my signs. Good. My numbers are now right, but the sign is wrong. That means the 4x and the 3 should have been the minus 9x plus 4. That'll flip all of these signs around to give me what I want. Now, let's kind of talk for a minute before we move on. Let's say I flipped my C's and it still didn't work. What should you have done next? Try a different pair. Should you keep the same A's and just try some different C's? I probably would. Okay? I probably would have kept those, got rid of the 3 and the 4. I would have maybe then tried the 2 and the 6. And then flip those if they didn't work, and then get rid of that. Like, you want to make sure you're not just jumping all over the place, otherwise you lose track of what you've done. Now, the first thing we had up there, let's talk about something else here. You had a 4x, that was a 4, 9x, and then you had a 3 over here, right? That was the first thing we threw up there. Without doing any math whatsoever, I can look at that and I could tell you it was wrong. Without doing any math. Do you want to know how? You're going to want to know how. It's going to save you so much time in the future. We talked about GCF on Friday, right? Is there a number that goes into 36, 11, and 12? No, right? 11's prime. So like nothing went into all of these. So that means your parentheses, when you're doing this, there shouldn't be a common factor in those either, right? My real answer, nothing goes into both 3 and 4. Nothing goes into both 4 and 9. So there's no GCF. Look here. The first option we tried, is there something that's common between 4 and 4? Is there something common between 9 and 3? Yeah. That's a big red flag. If there's no GCF in the original problem, there should not be a GCF in your parentheses. Okay? That will save you so many options from trying. So many things. You don't even have to try it. There's a GCF sitting there like, shouldn't be. Okay? So you don't even have to try that option. X squared minus 4x minus 21. All right, since my last one is negative, what were your signs? When it comes time for a quiz or a test, if you can give me that, that's 1 point. You at least gave me the right signs. Okay? All right, options for A. 1 and 1. So I know I have 1x and 1x. Options for C. Good. 1 and 21 or 3 and 7? 3 and 7? Does it matter which one's negative? Doesn't matter. It does matter. Which one should be negative? It's the 7. Good. And again, if you're not sure, just check them. So x squared minus 7x plus 3x minus 21. Like terms, x squared, minus 4x minus 21. So I can see that that did, in fact, work. Okay. Are we having fun yet? You guys like factoring? Yes, that is the nice thing. You're not just like circling an answer and going, I hope and pray that that's right. Right? You actually know if it's right or not. You guys want to try a harder one on your own? Yay? Yeah? Give it a try, guys. Try this one. All right, guys. What are our signs? Last one's positive, so what are they? Good. They're either both plus or they're both minus. Now, some people are like, I know they're both plus or both minus, but they're not sure. If you have both pluses, will you ever get a negative 16 in there? No. So they're going to have to both be minus. What happens if I put one plus and one minus? What's that going to do to that last one? It would make that a negative. Okay, so it has to either both be plus or both minus. All right, options for A is 1 and 4 or 2 and 2. Options for C, 1 and 15 or 3 and 5. All right, you want to go 1 and 4 or 2 and 2? 2 and 2. So 2x and 2x. 1 and 15 or 3 and 5. Okay, and then we check. We get 4x squared minus 10x minus 6x plus 15. Like terms gives me negative 16x and then the plus 15. And that's exactly what we wanted. Now, if on your paper, if you had 2x minus 5 and then the 2x minus 3, is that okay or is that wrong? It's right. Yeah, it's okay because think about if I ask you what's 2 times 5? What's 5 times 2? So does it matter the order in which I multiply? No. So like I can take the entire parentheses and I can flip-flop them, and that's okay. But like which numbers I pair with which numbers makes a difference, like what's in a parenthesis together. But if you have the entire right parentheses and they're just flip-flopped, that's okay. Let's bypass this one. Let's look at this one. 5x squared plus 22x minus 15. All right, what do we know about the signs in our parentheses? The last one's negative, which means they are a plus and a minus. They got to be opposites. The only way to multiply to get a negative number is to have one plus and one minus. Options for A, 1 and 5. Options for C, 1 and 15, 3 and 5. All right, so I have 1 and 5, so 1x and 5x. Do you want to go 1 and 15 or 3 and 5? 3 and 5? What should you notice as soon as I write 3 and 5 like that? There's a common factor here. Was there a common factor in the original problem? No. So should there be a common factor here? No. So without even checking the math on that, I know that that's a problem. So let me put the 5 and then the 3. Okay? But I want you to kind of start seeing that. If you see a common factor, but there's not one in the beginning, there shouldn't be one when you set up your factoring. Should hopefully save you some checking of things. So we're going to get 5x squared minus 3x plus 25x minus 15. Like terms, 5x squared plus 22x minus 15. And we're good. See, isn't this fun? No? Yeah? I think it's fun. All right, we are going to stop right there for today.